Hi, I'm Nairi. I'm running an adoption support channel and I'm doing a whole series on attachment. So if attachment interests you or adoption interests you, please subscribe and I'm sure you'll enjoy the content. So today is video 3 and it's how attachment actually works. How does it actually work? You know, what really is it when you kind of get down to the nitty gritty? So the way I see it is an invisible connection between you and a child. And I see it as like a stretchy glue. Some people call it elastic, some people say string. I like to think of it as a glue that can either be quite a weak glue or a strong glue, a glue that snaps quite easily or a glue that kind of stretches really well. That's how I picture it in my mind. So it's intangible, of course, and it's a theory. I want to put that there. It is a theory. Now, a more confident child, a child that's had a normal upbringing, whatever normal might mean, will be quite confident by the age of 2 to kind of start stretching that glue out and exploring. And you will often see a toddler checking back to check the adult is there, and then if they see the adult is happy with them and is nearby, will go a little bit further, and that's how it works in life. You expect your children to gradually explore more, to gradually move away more, and to try more things out, and that's what a strong, secure attachment looks like. A weaker attachment can look different in different ways. So this is where I would say to you that attachment does not fit into a box. It does not look like one thing. So you can't overanalyze these things. If you do, you'll just tie yourself up into knots. So some children with a weaker attachment look like they don't care at all, that they're just off exploring and they're not checking back. They'll be the type that you take to a park and just run off into the distance, or suddenly start following a stranger that they think were you. They're not checking back at all. So that could be a weak attachment or an insecure attachment. The other side could be a child that never leaves your side, wants to talk to you all the time, wants to engage with you all the time, and there's literally that glue, they are stuck right onto you. So you can have those extremes in practice, and you can have anything in between. So you can also have periods of time when you see a child that looks like they are beginning to attach to you, and then the next day they don't, and you can have somebody who just seems to have no attachment whatsoever, and then one day you feel that connection happening. So things change on a daily basis, so that's worth bearing that in mind. We're told, of course, that, well, I say of course, that there is insecure attachment and secure attachment, and with under insecure there are different categories as well. But I think for the purpose of my series of videos, I'm not going to use those categories because I want us to get to grips with practically what we're going to do to help our children. And it's worth also saying that only 60 to 70% of their whole population anyway is securely attached. It's not the end of the world if our children are not securely attached anyway. A lot of the children that we will adopt will not have secure attachment, but that's not a life sentence, and that's something that I want you to understand too. It's not a life sentence if your child is insecurely attached, because you can build on what they have. And it's always worth remembering the positive side. Build on what you have, not on what you don't have. In general, what you're going to do are the following things. So you're always going to acknowledge them whenever you can. Acknowledge the child is in the room. You are going to try to keep them as physically close as you can if you're building attachment in the early stages. So try to make sure that you have that physical contact, which will also involve touch. And if you can't be physically close to them, you make eye contact. Use your voice. Voice is really important as well. So that's one that's often forgotten, that you could be in another room and then you could sort of speak to them from the other room and let them know that you're still there. So you're trying to build that security with them, to know that that glue that you have between them can stretch into different rooms, that you can pull the glue closer, you can go and touch them by pulling them in closer, that you're building on this glue, and they need to know that. Play is another good way of doing it, because of course you have to have lots of conversation, you have to have lots of touch, and you're normally physically close to do that, and you're just generally going to be having that warmth toward them. Of course that can't happen all the time. It can't happen all the time, but generally you're trying to build a warm relationship where you are thinking about this glue and strengthening it. And so that is how attachment actually works in practice. And we will be moving on to video number 4 In the series, this is going to be looking at attachment when your child first arrives. So when we say first arrives, I don't necessarily mean the first few days, but if we say the first few months, then that's what we're going to be looking at in video number 4. So I hope you'll join me on Adoption with Nairi. Thank you.